We decided today to take a little walk at the Ev-Henwood Preserve here in eastern North Carolina, Brunswick County. It's the final days of March. Wind's kind of blowing hard, but it's warm out, and we're just going to see what kind of things are out here as far as the spring wildflowers are concerned, and maybe we'll see some snakes. We're on the Tulip tree trail here, and I think we see why, because there's a big tulip tree, and now we're going to walk down here and take a look at this little lowland area here with a little bridge crossing it, and looks like we got a little lowland swamp here with some black water running down through here. Got a little really nice area here at the Ev-Henwood Preserve. Well, without a doubt, they've had a windstorm through here just recently. Here's a really big tip-up mound. The trees just blew right on over. My, oh my, there's just trail after trail after trail out here. All of them kind of interconnected, and now we're gonna go on down and we're gonna check out what's known as the Blueberry Trail, which looks like it's heading down into the swamp. Well, we have a few not so uncommon plants. Here's the American holly tree, and we're on the Blueberry Trail, and right here it looks like a high bush blueberry, which is kind of cool. So I guess we're going to be seeing a lot of blueberry bushes out here. Sort of an interesting little preserve. Here's a little trail that ends down here right at the edge of a nice little swamp. And if we look out over here, you can see a lot of knees from the cypress trees and a few cypress trees off there in the distance. These cypress trees growing in these swamps have these big flared bases, and they got all these knees growing out into the mud, and all of this tends to stabilize the tree in what could be a very unstable substrate. This little nature preserve has something we don't see much of out here on the coast. We actually have some little ridges and dips and valleys out here. We are on the edge of one of these little ridges, and it drops right down into this little creek valley. Interesting. Don't see this very often around here. We just keep encountering one little trail after the next, so we're just going to follow the signs and see where we end up. It's a nice little hike through here. Not difficult at all. Trails are well maintained, and you actually see some pretty interesting stuff as it goes from the drier ridges down into these wet swamps. Well, in addition to some cool sorts of plants and a little topography, it looks like there's even some history out here. We came to the edge of a little swamp here, and it says that this area out here in front of us used to be a canal that was dug so they could float the trees out of here when they were logging for the naval stores industry. Can't really see where the canal was because it's filled up with vegetation now, but still kind of cool. So you'll often hear me talking about the importance of dead wood in forests. Something in South Carolina we don't really appreciate as much as we should, because we like to cut all the wood and get it out of there. But if we look over here, we see just how important dead wood is to woodpeckers and other organisms. They pretty much just completely riddled this dead tree to death, and they've been pecking away and making a big pile of shavings of dead wood at the bottom. Very important to leave dead trees in the forest because it provides habitat and resources for the animals that live there. All right, we've been hiking a little bit. It's been a really pleasant hike. Haven't seen a lot of animals, but I'm going to tell you one of the coolest things I've seen so far is this right here. And I don't know if you can see that really well, but that's a crayfish mound, and down here in this wet area. There's crayfish mounds everywhere down through here. These things are churning up the dirt and bringing some of that dark black dirt from down deep and bringing it up to the surface. Would like to dig down and see what crayfish did this. So here I am. We're down here in the lowland area of the Ev-Henwood Preserve. And you've heard me talk about wetlands a lot, and I'm going to be producing some videos about wetlands, but this is a wetland, and you can always tell a wetland by these bright green grass-like plants. These are sedges. Sedges are great indicators of wetlands. We've got some ferns, we've got some rushes, all these plants down in here. We got gum trees, we got cypress trees, we got crayfish mounds. This is a wetland. This is a really cool place here at the Ev-Henwood Preserve. Wetlands, we need to preserve them because they do all sorts of good things in preserving water quality. So you come here to this preserve, you're going to see some things you don't see a lot of the coast of South Carolina. This is a deciduous forest. We have hickory trees, we've got white oak trees, we've got bay trees, loblolly pines, mostly tulip trees though, all sort of indicative of a forest that was cut some time ago and is now growing back, but still sort of an interesting place to come if you want to see a coastal deciduous forest in a pretty good state of development. So this little preserve is again a place where you can see some things that you just don't normally see in the coast of South Carolina or the coast of North Carolina. And right here, this is significant because this is a beech tree, and it's a fairly big beech tree. And we just don't see many beech trees around. They tend to occur in deciduous forests farther north under more moist conditions, and we see a few beech trees out here. Again, just another thing that makes this a really cool place. So no nature walk in the Carolinas would be complete without looking at the state flower of South Carolina, and that of course is yellow jasmine. Really pretty yellow flower. This is a vine that grows on other plants, and when you see the yellow jasmine blooming, we know we're in early spring.